This happened 8 years ago. I was 32, a high school biology teacher. I needed to escape after a stressful year. I thought a camping trip would help me reconnect with nature. I found a remote forest and set up camp there. The towering pines surrounded me, and a bubbling creek was nearby. The sound of rustling leaves felt calming. I set up my tent and made a small fire. It was quiet. Just me and the woods. I remember sitting by the creek, listening. The sunset painted the trees in warm colors. It felt hopeful. I wanted to be away from everything. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, night fell, and things changed. Around midnight, I heard something. It was a rhythmic thumping. I thought it might be distant wildlife. Maybe a deer. I rolled over in my sleeping bag. The sound kept going. It was like someone was banging something deep in the woods. It didn't stop. I tried to ignore it, but I couldn't sleep. My heart raced. I kept wondering what it was. The next day, I decided to explore. I walked along the trails near my campsite. The thumping faded but didn't leave my mind. I wanted to find something that made sense. That's when I saw strange symbols carved into tree trunks. They looked like circles and zigzags. I took a picture, thinking I might look them up later. I felt uneasy as I traced my fingers over the carvings. I thought I saw something move in the trees. Shadows flickered at the edge of my vision. I turned, but nothing was there. That night, the thumping got closer. I sat up in my tent, listening. Something was out there. It felt wrong. I peeked outside, and the air was cold and thick. I saw something, a figure, just standing there at the edge of the trees. I called out, "Are you okay?" He didn't answer. My heart pounded. I blinked. When I opened my eyes, he was gone. I turned around. Nobody was there. No sound, just the rustle of leaves. Despite the chill, I felt a warmth creeping up my neck. I took a deep breath, trying to calm down, but my heart raced louder. A little while later, I heard the thumping again. This time, it was faster. It felt like it was right next to me. I grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside my tent. I shined the light around, but nothing appeared. The darkness wrapped around me like a heavy blanket. The figure returned, but he looked different this time. His eyes darted around like he was being hunted. I was frozen, still holding the flashlight. Then he asked me, "Why are you with her?" My breath caught in my throat. I turned around to look. Nobody was there. When I turned back, he was running into the woods. I never saw him again. I left the campsite early the next day, but I've never stopped thinking about what happened. The woods still feel haunted to me. I wonder if I'll ever really know what I saw. I spent the next few days back at home, trying to get back to normal. I returned to teaching my biology classes, but every time I looked at the students, I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. I thought about that night in the woods constantly. I couldn't explain what I saw. I didn't want to tell anyone, fearing they'd think I was crazy. Then, on a rainy afternoon, I found myself Googling the symbols I had photographed. I was hoping to find some context, maybe an explanation for what had happened. After hours of scrolling through pages, I stumbled across an old forum dedicated to local legends. There it was, a thread about the very symbols I had seen, connected to an old legend regarding the forest. The thread spoke of a lost tribe that once inhabited the area. They were said to perform rituals, tapping into ancient energies that connected them to the land. Many claimed to hear strange thumping sounds deep in the woods at night during certain times of the year. My blood ran cold. What I experienced wasn't just a fluke, it was part of something much larger and unsettling. Feeling a mix of dread and curiosity, I decided to go back to the forest. I figured that maybe returning would provide some closure. As I drove there, I felt a knot in my stomach. I pulled into the rugged parking lot, heart pounding. The trees loomed over me like sentinels. It felt different somehow, heavier, as if they were remembering me that I hiked down the same path I took 8 years ago. The familiar sounds of birds chirping and leaves crunching underfoot were reassuring. Yet, there was a lingering silence deeper in the woods, as if they were holding their breath. I pushed on, retracing my steps, guided by a need to understand. Hours later, I reached the clearing where I had camped. Nothing looked the same. The symbols on the trees seemed worn and almost distant, faded reminders of what had once been there. It was then I noticed something new, an old, rusted metal object half buried in the dirt. I leaned down to inspect it. It looked like part of an old cart, something that shouldn't have been there. Then I heard it again, the rhythmic thumping. I felt my heart leap, echoing the sound. It was distant at first, but then it grew louder. Panic gripped me. I wanted to run, but my feet were glued to the ground. Then, everything went still. The chirping of birds stopped, and the wind fell silent. With every beat of my heart, the thumping got closer. I was not alone. I had to find out what it was. Gathering courage, I followed the sound. As I stepped deeper into the woods, I felt eyes on me. Unease washed over me. That's when I saw it, a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye, darker than the shadows around. I turned, ready to confront whatever was lurking in the woods. But as I shone my flashlight in the direction, there was nothing there. Just trees and silence. Then I felt a presence behind me. I whipped around, and for a heartbeat, I saw him, the figure from that night. His eyes were wild, full of fear. "Why are you back?" he whispered. Before I could answer, he vanished into the tree line. I stood frozen, the thumping growing louder, urgent. I realized now, it wasn't just my past that I had returned to face. It was a warning, and I was in deeper than I ever anticipated. I didn't have time to process the figure's words. The thumping intensified, reverberating through the air with a chaotic rhythm that seemed to sync with my racing heart. I turned back toward the path I had just come from, but my instincts screamed that I should not leave. My curiosity was far stronger than my fear, and despite the growing anxiety, I pressed on. The trees closed in tighter, branches clawing at my arms as if trying to pull me back. I swallowed, fighting the rising panic in my throat. "Is someone there?" I called out, hoping my voice wouldn't betray my tremor. Nothing responded but the rustling leaves, a cruel form of silence that felt mocking. When I heard it, a whisper, delicate and haunting. It seemed to dance with the wind, drifting through the branches. I strained to hear it, inching closer to the source. The thumping had faded slightly, replaced by a strange urgency in the air. "Help us," the whisper pleaded, though I couldn't tell if it was meant for me or for someone else. I froze again, a cold shiver running down my spine. Suddenly feeling more exposed, I searched the shadows around me. Something moved just out of reach, a flicker that sparked my adrenaline. I stepped forward, wanting to see. I had to see. As I ventured deeper, I tripped over an unseen root, tumbling into the underbrush. As I got up, a broken branch cracked beside me, and I turned fast, ready for whatever had drawn me in. It was then I saw the symbols again, glowing faintly against the darkness, a line of them leading away, almost beckoning. With my pulse racing, I traced the symbols with my eyes, realizing they converged at the edge of a small pond. I approached cautiously. The water's surface was eerily calm, reflecting the surrounding trees like a distorted glass. I felt pulled toward it, a magnetic force urging me to look closer. As I bent forward, the thumping resumed, louder than ever. It pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat, and then I saw it, figures emerging from the water, glistening, almost ethereal. They rose, beginning to dance in the thin mist that hung above the pond. My breath caught. They were not human but rather shapes of translucent blues and greens, shifting with the rhythm of the thumping sound. They danced silently, their movements graceful yet urgent. My mind struggled to understand, were these spirits? Guardians? I didn't know, but one thing was clear: they weren't happy I was there. The moment I noticed them, the atmosphere shifted, laced with tension. The thumping morphed into a deafening crescendo, drowning out my thoughts. I wanted to scream, to run, but my feet felt cemented to the ground. Then, one of the figures turned toward me, its eyes piercing through the mist that I gasped, feeling both drawn and repulsed. It was then I heard a voice again, but this time it was clearer: "You must leave." Before I could react, the figures vanished back into the water, leaving only ripples behind. Just then, I caught a glimpse of movement at the edge of the trees. The man from before stepped forward again, more frantic this time. "They're coming for you," he shouted. Adrenaline shot through me, and in a split second, I turned to run. But the forest around me shifted, branches closing like a trap, blurring my path. I was not only running from the unseen, I was running into the unknown. My heart raced as the thumping grew more frantic. It felt like my life depended on it. I had to escape. But as I broke through the line of trees, the ground gave way beneath me. I plummeted into darkness, and everything went quiet. I landed hard on a damp, cold surface that knocked the wind out of me. Darkness enveloped my surroundings, wrapping me in an unsettling stillness. It felt like I had fallen into a pit, but no pain radiated from my body. I forced myself to breathe, my mind racing with disbelief and confusion. Slowly, I pushed myself up, feeling around. The ground was rocky and uneven, littered with damp earth and what felt like small, jagged stones. I squinted, trying to find any hint of light. There was none. My heart beat wildly in my chest, and the panic threatened to overtake me, but I focused on the feeling of the ground beneath me, on regaining my bearings. I stood up fully and took a cautious step forward. My foot hit something solid. Startled, I bent down and felt a large object, smooth and oddly warm against my palm. I had no idea what it was, but it pulsed softly, resonating with a familiar rhythm. I glanced at it, my heart racing as I realized the thumping sound was coming from this very object. Gripped with curiosity, I pressed my ear against it. The rhythm shifted, quickening, as if reacting to my presence. Then, I heard it again, the whisper. "Help us," the voice echoed softly, reverberating off the walls of my underground prison. I jerked back, wide-eyed. Who were they? What did they want from me? I took a deep breath, fighting the urge to run. If only I could see where I was. I fumbled in my pocket, finding my phone. The flashlight blinked to life, cutting through the darkness. The beam illuminated smooth walls, and my heart sank as I noticed markings similar to those I had seen in the forest. They swirled across the surface, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Suddenly, I heard rustling behind me, a sound that froze me in place. Fear trickled down my spine as I spun around, the flashlight beam flickering wildly. "Is anyone there?" I called out, my voice trembling. Once again, silence wrapped around me. The only sound was the rhythmic thumping, now pulsating against my chest as if it were echoing my own fear. I aimed the light down another path leading from the area, the shadows shifting with each beam. Then I saw movement, a quick flash of blue. "No," I whispered to myself, taking a step back. "It can't be." I felt the vibe in the air change, it grew tense and electric, throbbing in sync with the object in my hand. My instincts screamed at me to flee. But as I was about to turn and run, the shadows gathered, morphing into a shape. A figure emerged, not from the darkness but from the ground itself. It was like the water spirits, translucent and shimmering and vaguely human. Its lips didn't move, but my mind heard the voice clearly, echoing in the darkness, "You're part of this now." I stumbled back, every fiber of my being urging me to escape, but the earth shifted again. The tunnel felt alive, twisting and morphing as if it were reacting to my fear. I fell to the ground, straining to crawl backward. Just as I thought I was losing hope, I caught a glimpse of a flickering light ahead, an exit, perhaps. But it grew dimmer, pulled away from me as if the tunnel was swallowing it whole. I had to act fast. I leapt toward it, pushing past the dread that threatened to consume me. But the voice echoed once more, "You cannot leave without giving a part of yourself." I hesitated, caught between escape and the unknown. Then I felt the warmth of the mysterious object in my palm growing hotter. It pulsed urgently as if begging me to stay. Then, without warning, the ground shook. The darkness felt like it was collapsing around me. I sprinted toward the exit, not knowing what lay beyond but sure that staying would mean losing everything. I burst through the light, gasping for air, but the question nagged, what had I truly left behind? I tumbled into a clearing, still disoriented from the darkness I had escaped. The bright sunlight nearly blinded me, making it hard to focus. The forest was alive with sounds: chirping birds, rustling leaves, and the distant gurgle of a stream. I stumbled forward, my heart racing as I caught my breath. Glancing back, I couldn't see the tunnel. It felt like I had just woken from a dream, but the warmth in my hand reminded me that it was all too real. That I looked down at the object I had clutched. It was a large, smooth stone, a strange blue hue with intricate patterns running across its surface. It pulsed faintly, matching my heartbeat as if it held a part of my fear. Anxiety clawed at me. What was it? Why had it acted that way? As I took a few tentative steps deeper into the woods, I felt a chill settle beneath the warm sun. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. Every crack of a twig echoed loudly, making me jump. Then I remembered the figure from the tunnel, its face haunting my thoughts. You're part of this now. The words played over and over in my mind like a broken record. Determined to find out what was happening, I moved cautiously through the trees, alert for any signs of danger. Suddenly, I spotted something on the ground, something that shouldn't be there. A trail of the same glowing markings I had seen earlier caught my eye, leading away from my position. My heart sank. Were they following me? I hesitated for a moment, but curiosity won out. My feet carried me forward, following the trail through the thick brush. Each step echoed the silent question swirling in my mind. What did it all mean? Moments later, I stumbled into a larger clearing, a circle of trees framing a small pond. The surface shimmered, reflecting the sky, but something caught my attention. Ripples formed across the water as I approached, and then I saw a figure beneath the surface. It looked like the water spirit, but this one was different. Shadows danced around it, and I could feel a heavy presence pressing down around me. That I backed away slowly, panic rising. The whispers began again, surrounding me, join us. It was unnerving, and I could feel the pull of the object in my hand intensifying. It felt like it was connected to whatever was beneath the water. Just then, a rustle from behind made me spin around. My heart raced when I saw another figure emerging from the trees. It was a person, a young woman, her face twisted with desperation. You shouldn't have come back, she warned, her voice shaky. You don't know what you're dealing with. Before I could respond, the whole ground trembled, the energy in the air shifting dangerously. Just as I thought the world would collapse again, everything went dark once more. The pond vanished, and I found myself standing in the tunnel again, but this time the pulse of the stone was strong, almost demanding. I had to get back, but I didn't know how. I turned, seeking an exit, but all I could feel was the weight of the voices pressing in on me. Choose wisely, they echoed, wrapping me in uncertainty. Then the shadows began to close in. I gasped as the darkness faded just as quickly as it had enveloped me. I was back in the clearing, but everything felt different. The sun was still bright, but the warmth was now tinged with an unsettling coolness. I stood, gripping the blue stone tightly, trying to process what had just happened. My surroundings were eerily quiet. The cheerful sounds of the forest had vanished. There were no chirping birds or rustling leaves, only an oppressive silence suffocating the air. It sent shivers down my spine. What had that woman meant when she said I shouldn't have come back? The stone in my hand glimmered under the sun's rays, sending waves of energy through my palm. I hesitated, then set off, determined to find answers. I retraced my steps to the pond, hoping to catch a glimpse of that shadowy figure again or find the young woman. Maybe she could tell me more about what was going on. As I approached the body of water, the atmosphere shifted. I could see the surface shimmering again, but this time it looked different, darker, somehow. I stepped cautiously to the edge, trying to peer into the depths. "Hello?" I called, my voice shaky. The only reply was my own echoing back at me, that S when I noticed it. At the water's edge, an object glistened in the sunlight. I squinted, feeling the pull of curiosity. I knelt down, reaching for it. My fingers brushed against a piece of weathered wood, polished and smooth, with strange carvings etched into the surface. This wasn't just debris, it felt deliberate, like a charm or talisman of some kind. Suddenly, I heard a rustling behind me. I turned quickly, but there was no sign of the woman or any other figures. My heart raced. Maybe the shadows in the tunnel were more than just fears. Maybe they were real threats lingering in this forest. I stood up, the wood charm clutched tightly in my hand as I scanned the area. The forest seemed to close in around me, the trees casting long, twisting shadows. I could feel the buzzing energy of the stone intertwining with the charm. Whatever this connection was, I hoped it would guide me to the truth, but then the whispers returned, louder this time. "It knows you're here." The voice was soft yet commanding, sending chills racing down my spine. Panic swelled when I realized that the trees themselves seemed to be shifting, bending closer as if trying to listen. I needed to leave, but the path I had followed was now obscured by thick underbrush. Every direction felt wrong. I needed to escape from this being watched, these unsettling voices. Just as I took a step forward, a figure appeared on the far side of the clearing. It was the woman again, her expression a mask of urgency. "You have to go," she shouted. "Before it's too late." Before I could comprehend her warning, the ground shook, and roots broke through the earth like grasping hands, reaching for me. I gasped and turned to run, but I knew deep down that whatever chased me was more than just part of this world. It was tied to the stone, to that pond, and to me. I had gotten myself into something I couldn't understand, and now I had to find a way to survive it. I sprinted into the trees, branches scratching my arms as I plunged deeper into the woods. The roots coiling behind me felt terrifyingly alive, pulsing in the damp earth. Every footfall thudded in my chest, urging me to run faster. I glanced back, half expecting to see the ground swallowing me whole, but the roots receded as if they never reached for me. My breath came in panicked gasps. I needed to think. The urgency of the woman's voice still rang in my ears. "Before it's too late." What did that mean? Who was it? I stumbled over a fallen trunk and dropped the wood charm. It rolled away, stopping at the base of a gnarled tree. I hesitated, torn between the need to keep moving and the instinct to retrieve it. Something told me it was important. With a shuddering breath, I darted towards the charm, snatching it up. The moment I held it again, a pulse of warmth traveled through my fingers, as if it recognized me. A new surge of energy flowed through the stone, intertwining with the charm's aura. I could almost hear a whisper, beckoning me to the tree. Curiosity outweighed my fear. I approached the gnarled tree, running my fingers over its bark. The carvings on the wood charm matched the intricate patterns etched into the tree. It felt like I was standing before a living history, a connection to something ancient. The air throbbed around me, saturated with a heavy magic that thrummed in sync with my heartbeat. Then, another sound pierced the silence. A low, guttural growl echoed through the trees, making the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. My heartbeat quickened again, urgency flooding through me. It was closer now, whatever was hunting me. I had to figure things out. I had to know the truth of this place before it consumed me. I looked back at the tree. Maybe it had answers. I took a deep breath and pressed my hand against the bark, feeling a warm pulse that emanated from the heart of the tree. "What do you want from me?" I whispered. In response, the ground beneath me trembled, and the roots at the base of the tree shifted, revealing a faintly glowing path winding downward. My heart raced. Was this a way out? Or deeper into whatever traps this forest held? I hesitated, but the growl came again, louder, echoing through the thicket. There was no time to lose that I stepped onto the path, feeling the cool earth beneath my feet. The glow pulsed brighter with my every movement. As I descended, the air grew denser, thick with the scent of ancient earth. Shadows danced around me, darting just beyond my line of sight. Then, out of the darkness, a figure emerged. It was tall and elongated, its face obscured by shadows. "You shouldn't have come back," it rasped, voice like rusting iron. I froze, the charm in my hand unexpectedly feeling hot against my skin. I had to decide quickly. Stand and fight, or continue blundering deeper into the unknown. I took a step back, heart hammering. The figure loomed before me, a silhouette against the faintly glowing path. I could barely make out its features, but there was an unmistakable menace in the way it moved, fluid like smoke. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice shaky and barely above a whisper. "You don't remember?" It stepped closer, shadows swirling around it. "You ran away once. You thought you could escape." Something in its words sent a chill through me. A sense of familiarity washed over me, but I couldn't place it. I clenched the charm tightly, focusing on the warmth radiating from it. Maybe it could protect me. It had answered my call earlier, perhaps it could help me again. As if sensing my hesitation, the figure lunged unexpectedly. I reacted instinctively, ducking to the side just as its hand swept through the space I deoccupied. A burst of adrenaline kicked in. I darted down the path, feeling the ground shift beneath me, responding to the urgency of my flight. The shadows lunged after me, a torrent of whispers and growls mixing into a chaotic chorus. I ran faster, legs pumping, the glow of the path brightening with every hurried step. The charm pulsed in my palm, rhythmically syncing with my heartbeat. "Why are you chasing me?" I yelled over my shoulder, desperation creeping into my tone. "What do you want?" "That charm was not meant for you." The voice echoed through the darkness. The tone was deep, filled with a mix of rage and regret. "It belongs to the forest. You disturbed the balance." My breath caught in my throat. Balance? I didn't understand any of this. I had stumbled into a nightmare of twisted roots and dark figures, and now I was the reason for someone else's rage. I had to find a way to turn the tide. Ahead, the path opened into a wider subterranean chamber. Dim light illuminated strange symbols carved into the walls, and a gigantic stone tree grew from the ground, its roots stretching outward like the fingers of a giant. I saw a flicker of movement by the tree, and my instincts screamed at me to go toward it. That I skidded to a halt, feeling the surge of energy from the charm intensify. "Can you hear me?" I called out to the tree, grasping the charm in both hands. "Please, I need help." As if in response, the stone tree trembled and emitted a low hum that resonated through the chamber. The shadows hesitated, as if drawn to the tree's energy. I took a step forward, feeling the warmth wrap around me like a protective cloak. Then the figure appeared again, fury twisting its features. "Stop. You'll regret this." That was when I saw it. Bright, swirling lights flared from the roots of the stone tree, pushing opposing darkness back into the depths. I felt a pang of hope, but it was fleeting. The shadows surged forward again, and instant panic consumed me. I had to act. I had to find a way to harness this power before it was too late. Without thinking, I raised the charm to the tree, feeling the connection surge between them. Would it accept me? Would I be able to control it? Everything went silent, the air thick with anticipation. Then I heard a distant thud. Someone or something was breaking through the other side of the chamber. My heart sank. The darkness was coming, and I needed to take a stand now. I took a deep breath as the thudding grew closer. Panic flooded my veins, but I forced myself to focus. My hands trembled around the charm, its warmth grounding me even as fear crept in. The shadows paused, their growls barely a whisper now, drawn toward the shimmering lights from the tree like moths to a flame. "Please," I begged the tree, my voice shaky. "Help me. I had no idea how to use this connection. I needed guidance. But the tree maintained its silence, the glowing roots swaying gently as if they were trying to communicate something deeper. Then, with a burst, a figure broke through the brambles at the chamber's edge. I squinted, heart racing as the details came into view. It was a girl, similar in age to me but cloaked in a flowing robe that blended with the shadows. Her eyes shone with an otherworldly light, reflecting both curiosity and warning. "Step aside," she shouted, directing her attention to me. "You must let the tree do its work." "Why? Who are you?" I fired back, unsure of her intentions. The looming figure from before still loomed close behind me, waiting for its moment. "My name is Lyra," she stated firmly, a flicker of irritation crossing her face. "I've been trying to protect this forest from the very force that's chasing you. And now that charm you hold it is more than you understand." My mind raced. The history I didn't know regarding the charm and its connection to the forest weighed heavily on me. What does it mean? What am I supposed to do? Lyra stepped closer, her eyes locked on mine. "You are at a crossroads. The charm has chosen you for reason. But it will only protect the balance if you accept your role within it. That means you must confront the darkness and unite with the tree." I looked back at the tree, feeling its energy pulse toward me. Could I really face this unknown threat? As if to answer my question, the ground beneath me trembled. The shadows gathered again, sensing my hesitance. I could breathe them in an acrid scent of despair and anger, and it sent a cold wave through my body. "I'm scared," I admitted quietly, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on my chest. "Fear is a part of this," Lyra assured me, her voice steady. "But it can also give you strength. Stand by the tree. Let it guide you. Do you trust it?" Before I could respond, the figure charged forward, a growl rumbling from its throat. The shadowy form reached out, clawing toward me with an intent that sent shockwaves of dread spiraling through the air. I stepped backward, but the tree's glow pulsed brighter, cutting through the darkness. In that instant, I found my footing. "All right," I shouted resolutely, raising the charm before me. "I'll do it. I'll fight." With newfound determination, I positioned myself near the stone tree, grounding myself. The air crackled with energy around us, all attention now shifting toward me. Then everything went dark. The bright light flickered and dimmed, leaving me standing alone in a void filled with swirling shadows. But right behind me, I felt the thick roots of the tree wrapping around my legs, urging me to draw strength from the earth. "Lyra!" I cried, but my voice disappeared into the darkness. I couldn't turn back. I had to confront this terrifying force alone. That a rushing sound filled my ears, and I knew the chaos was coming. With the darkness closing in, I had only one chance to uncover the truth behind my past, the charm, and this cursed forest. But would it be enough? I felt the pressure of the darkness closing in, like heavy fog wrapping around me, stifling. The echoes of distant growls reverberated through what felt like an endless void. It was an oppressive kind of silence, one that demanded submission, one that wanted to snuff out any flicker of hope. But the roots of the stone tree anchored me. I pressed my palm against the gnarled bark, feeling warmth radiate from within its core, urging me to stand firm. "Show yourself!" I shouted into the void, and to my astonishment, something stirred in the shadows. The swirling darkness coalesced before me, forming the figure I had seen before. It moved with fluidity, the essence of primal chaos and lingering hunger. "You cannot escape your fate," it growled, its voice an eerie serenade. "Maybe not," I countered, "but I can choose how I face it." I gripped the charm tightly, feeling its energy pulse in rhythm with my heartbeat. In that moment, something clicked within me, the realization that I wasn't just drawn here by fate, I was part of it. As I focused on the figure, my fear began to morph. The shadows surrounding it flickered, revealing 1,000 faces, each twisted with despair and fury. "You seek the power of this forest, do you not?" The figure rasped, inching closer, its eyes burning like dying embers. You wish to control what was never yours. No, I replied, finding strength in my conviction. I don't want control. I want peace for all of us. The charm pulsed warmly in my palm, and I dropped to my knees, presenting it toward the force before me. This charm chose me. It showed me beauty and darkness intertwined. But I will not bow to fear. The very air around me shifted as the roots surged forward, connecting with the essence of the stone tree, drawing energy from the ground. My heart raced as a golden light erupted from me, illuminating the shadows. I could feel the brilliance flow through the forest, pushing back against the dark figure. What are you doing? The figure erupted, its voice laced with chaos. Fighting for balance, I declared, my voice ringing with newfound power. You seek to consume everything, but I want to let you take what doesn't belong to you. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, the light intensified, illuminating the faces swirling within the shadows. They began to dissolve, one by one, as if the warmth of my spirit was washing away their anger. I felt the weight in my heart loosening. I could see it now. Those figures were once trapped, just like I was, lost to their pain. Join me. I shouted, hoping to reach the souls entangled in despair. You do not have to be this way. I imagined the light spreading further, embracing the shadows, inviting them home. With each heartbeat, I could sense their resistance fading, but the dark figure lingered, furious but uncertain. You think you can just walk away? You're tangled in this web as much as I am. It screamed, but the shadows around it started to flicker and recede. With every flicker of light, I felt more empowered, more connected, like I was channeling the very essence of the forest itself. I focused on the tree, pouring my intention into it, urging it to harmonize with me. As the shadows dissolved, the air felt lighter. The growls turned into whispers, soft, low, and untangled from anger. Help us, they seemed to say, echoing the words I had heard before. I will, I promised, the commitment ringing true in my heart. Yet, just as I exhaled with relief, the dark figure surged one last time, a tempest of fury unleashed. You'll never escape. It roared, clawing toward me. Just as it lunged, I felt the roots of the stone tree tighten around my legs and pull me back. I braced myself as the tempest crashed forward, colliding with the light I had summoned. The earth trembled beneath me, shaking with the force of our confrontation. A blast of radiant energy erupted, sending shockwaves through the darkness. There was a brief moment of silence before the shadows shattered into shimmering fragments that sparkled like stars against the void. When the light dissipated, I found myself back in the clearing, gasping for air. The familiar sound of the forest flooded in, the chirping of birds, the gentle rustling of leaves. Everything felt lighter, steadier. I glanced down to find the charm in my hand transformed. Once dull and blue, it now glimmered, a radiant piece of the forest itself. But the figurative weight still pressed against my mind. Had I truly vanquished the darkness? Or merely pushed it deeper into the underbelly of this place? You'll return, a voice pierced through the quiet, someone familiar but distant. I turned, heart racing again. The girl from before stared at me, eyes filled with understanding. The balance will always call you back. I swallowed hard, uncertainty coiling in my stomach. Why? Because that's what it means to be a guardian, she explained softly. You felt the burden of their pain. You'll never forget it, nor should you. Before I could respond, the girl faded into the shadows of the trees, leaving me standing in quiet contemplation. I took a deep breath, staring now at the patterns of the stone charm in my palm. This wasn't the end, it was a beginning, a new understanding of the tangled web of darkness and light. I didn't fully understand what I had unleashed nor what it meant for me going forward. With that lingering uncertainty, I turned back toward the path leading home. I felt different now, forever altered by the forest and its secrets, each step humming with a strange, vibrant energy. I still didn't know if what I'd encountered was real or a figment of collective fear and ancient stories, but I understood that nature held its mysteries close, asking only that I remember them, and I would carry that weight, wondering if I was truly free, or just a part of something much greater.